stream is getting going.
All right.
If it'll go. And boom. Wonderful. All righty. We got some more people coming in. We'll start in about 1 minute. Just wait for some other folks, and we'll admit those that join a little later along the way. Okay. Have you been enjoying today's turn of weather? Did you get some of the sunshine?
Oh yes, we needed it.
Yeah.
We had to scrape the mold off our skin. It's been really foggy and rainy and cold and all that good stuff up here. So, are you in Tennessee?
Knoxville. I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yeah. I see at least one person who's in the far north. So our little weather problems are amateurish compared to some people have, I guess. Thinking of you, Laura. I have 24 today. I say, yeah.
All righty. I think we have a good little group here, and for anyone that joins later, we will go ahead and be able to admit them, but we'll get started with the reading portion. Welcome to Poets and Pajamas 152 with the wonderful Annie Woodford. Annie is the author of Bootleg from Groundhog Poetry Press and is the runner-up, which was a runner-up for the Weatherford Award for Appalachian Poetry. Her second book is the winner of Mercer University's 2020 Adrienne Bond Prize and will be published in 2022. Wonderful. Her poetry has appeared or is forthcoming in Beloit Poetry Journal, Blackbird, the Southern Review, the Rumpus, and Prairie Schooner. She has been awarded scholarships to the Sewanee and Bread Loaf Writers Conferences, as well as the Barbara Deming Fund and G. and Ritchie Fellowships. Originally from Virginia Milltown near the North Carolina border, she now teaches community college English in Wilkesboro, North Carolina, and more information can be found on her website, which I will put in the chat. Annie, you can take it away.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me and for putting this together into Sundress Publications. And for all the efforts that make things like this happen and for people showing up. It's really sweet. So I'm going to read from my latest book, Where You Come From Is Gone, to start out with. And I think I'll start out with a poem that was inspired by the last line by a poem by Ellen Bryant Voigt, who is a poet who actually grew up about a half hour from where I lived in Virginia. She's from Chatham, Virginia. And in her poem, it references, I think, lighting a cigarette when she knows that she shouldn't be lighting a cigarette, but shouldn't be smoking. But I kind of took it a different way. I just love her work so much. It was a revelation to hear it when I finally kind of discovered it late in life. It's called In the Dark, I Light a Little Fire. Out of the mouths of exiles, coal fields, textile mills, grandparents who picked the sharecropping lock and turned their bodies and their lives into a new cash crop, chopped up by time clocks, clawhammer, creasy greens, the hard R at the end of tire and tired. Why do I pronounce own, O-N, as own? And where did the melody of Barbary Allen come from? How did it travel the serpentine chain to the few Cherokee who faded back into the trees and into the bloodlines of Black folks and Black Irish who rocked their babies, singing, so slowly, slowly she got up, and slowly she grew nigh them. For a long time, the diaspora gathered around the radio, curio cabinet of static, where old songs were bent to tunings new as the tempo kept by spools of viscose thread, or the mechanical stamp punching boot soles out of sheets of rubber. Whatever work it was that now kept agrarian minds too busy to notice the passage of time. I keep the old ways in my mouth and a scrap of flour sack in the attic. My mother and her sisters burned their father's pay stubs from the chair factory. But I remember what I can't remember, how his hands had been worked so hard they sagged off his wrists like catcher's mitts. The two fingers cut short by a saw, strong stubs he used to beat music out of a cheap guitar, a banjo sold long ago. This one is called Extended Family Love Song. Let's not talk about the shortness of breath, the persistent cough, the clot of blood in the drain, tendency to fall asleep while taking off your shoes. That's how my aunt said she knew my uncle was dying. She found him sleeping in his armchair, red wings half unlaced. No, let's talk about drinking cheap bourbon and mellow yellow on brackish ice, playing rook, our baby's silken shoulder blades. How good it felt to take 1 week off in Myrtle Beach and suck hard on a Doral to get the cherry going before holding it to the fuse of a Roman candle. To buy 5 Roman candles. Let's talk about the way our beloved's hair curled or fell across our hands. Let's talk about the belly, delicate C-section scar, and sharpening the blades for the lawnmower. Let's talk about Mel Brooks and the high dive and restringing your father-in-law's guitar, how his hands shook, and 1,000 Sunday evenings in front of the TV, the work week as devotion, and the exhaustion at the end of a day begun before dawn, your feet feeling it most as you ease them, wings of bone and burning out of your shoes. This one I wrote after learning about the Mountain Valley Pipeline, which they're still fighting in Virginia, although it's incredible what the activists have been able to achieve in terms of foiling the pipeline company's efforts. But the pipeline will cross an area in Roanoke County on Bent Mountain and Bottom Creek, which is this incredible natural, there's a preserve there, and there's a creek, the Bottom Creek runs through part of that area, and it's just this incredibly fragile, unique ecosystem, and made out of karst rock, which is not very stable when you think in terms of pipelines. So this was written after visiting a site near where the pipeline would run. It's called Demijohn, Bent Mountain. We dreamed the soft fronds of a species of tree we slowly realized is not native to these mountains. Don Redwood's part of the last landowner's court-ordered remediation for scraping the creek banks clean. Still young enough, their survival is uncertain. If they do live, just one will fill up this bend, a cathedral of needles falling autumn-struck come cold weather. In the interlocking pattern of the woods, the last hemlocks glisten, the fine white web of the insect killing them only heightening their evergreen glaze. Somewhere, deep in the Appalachians, perhaps not far from this gorge where a pipeline will cross Bottom Creek at least 80 times, some folks say a few chestnut trees remain, resistant to blight and hidden from all but the few who knew how to find them, time and trees stretching wide as turkey vulture wings. People used to pose on the fallen tombs of their trunks. A plank of wormy chestnut can cost over $1,000 these days. On a map for the proposed pipeline, there is a blast zone, an evacuation zone, a geologic explanation for karst formation, which means everything seeps through these mountains. The water in Bottom Creek so cold, your heart seems to stop every time you get wet. The salamanders persisting, nymph quick in late spring, despite sediment slicking the rocks. While underwater, the orange flowers of crawdads bloom in the dark. Under the water, water flows, an aquifer wider than the Great Road. The folks who know to watch out for rattlers when they reach into rhododendrons or step from one cool stone to another. Thank you so much. Let's see. This one uses, the title comes from what was written around Pete Seeger's banjo. This machine surrounds hate and forces it to surrender, which was inspired by what was written on Woody Guthrie's guitar, which was "This machine kills fascists." Yeah. On the mountain beside this mountain, lights shine up in the trees, too bright and late to be explained, that side of Turkey Cock Creek. The Klan is votive these days. Old Scratch is showing his face, though it could just be four-wheeling boys, though of them I'm also afraid. The white hood hangs on the back of bedroom doors, red satin stole hand-stitched with black thread. Dig a hole in the meadow, dig a hole in the ground. Before the grave is closed, a man takes up the mantle, a familial ceremony for the grandson sharpened by prison time, mind mashed down by pills, a son-in-law, a brother of mine, a cousin of the secret stomp down, our father who stockpiles ammo, handgun sliding from truck console into view. Dig a hole in the meadow, dig a hole in the cold, cold ground. What do you think about banjos? The animal skin pulled tight, the body a pan of animal skin, a moon made of suffering giving back light and percussion. To dampen the clawhammer's call, tone down that wire gut string song broadcast out the body toward the body. Some stuff rags in the backs of banjos. What do you think about rags in the backs of banjos? Dig a hole in the cold, cold ground. The player is female. The player is young, her dark curls cut short, her race blurred as the origins of ballads. She takes the rag out from behind the dowel and drapes it, a scrap of paisley silk, across the back of her bare neck, then enters the tune where she left off. Your liquor has ruined my body. I've known you from old. Calling out louder now, long chimes of bird flight and deer flight between bright branches. And I'm going to read maybe one or two from this book and then one that's not in any book, maybe one day. Let's see. This one is the title. I'm sorry. My first book is called Bootleg, and it's about banjos. So this banjo obsession goes back a long way. It's about Charlie Poole. Part of it's kind of inspired by Charlie Poole, who was a banjo revolutionary, but this poem is not about banjos. This poem takes its title from this way of singing that you associate with like Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston, where they could reach a really high note and then quaver there. It's just this incredible way of singing. It's called melisma. So melisma. And my daughter, when she discovered pop radio, she was obsessed with it. And she loved Delilah for a while until she transitioned into, I guess listening to things on Spotify and so forth. But when she was little, she loved listening to our local pop radio station and Delilah. You are 9. You love the radio, love the thump and pop of all the latest songs, girls and boys singing to other girls and boys. And though you are too young to decipher such messages, you know something sparks in the static of small speakers. If you were older, you might say the songs are like the skin burning with touch and absence of touch, like the small hot hand of Hawthorne's birthmark, stinging all the way down to the bone. But you are 9, and so you don't. At night, you listen to Delilah, the radio crone with the rich voice, advising those who kiss and those who deign to be kissed, playing Cindy or Whitney, hitting all the high notes from your mother's youth, that youth always past tense because your daughters bloom right under the hands toweling dry their hair. They grow in the radio dial's green glow, in between ads for cars and the songs of last summer. You're my butterfly, sugar, sugar. Right. And then here's a short one about salamanders. So you will see salamanders, little tiny reddish orange salamanders, and they're in a very particular developmental stage called EFT, EFT. And I'd never seen one until probably 10 years ago in the Carvin's Cove Reservoir Preserve in Roanoke. Those are for Darlene. Let's see. The red salamander spotted last year among the wood's rain-soaked leaves, pulsing with a riddle I have yet to figure, will be full grown now and hidden among moss and mud, its fragile glow gone except as an image I recall against muted brown slopes, the young and dripping trees, a whole humming southeastern hillside, timbered at least twice, but growing now, oaks rising above understory. Okay. Thank you. Okay, I have one more. Let's see. So now I live in Deep Gap, North Carolina, almost in Wilkes County. And I teach down in Wilkes County. And one of the most famous people from Wilkes County is Junior Johnson, the NASCAR driver, who was one of the first, real famous NASCAR drivers. And he was profiled in, I think, Esquire by Tom Wolfe, and the piece was called The Last American Hero. And it's a great portrait of Wilkes County by Tom Wolfe, so it's completely an outsider's view. But anyway, I've been obsessed with Junior Johnson since I've moved here, and he was the son of a bootlegger and bootlegged himself, and he did serve time in prison for that. And another thing about Wilkes County is that it was they kind of, the people there, I guess, like in a lot of places in Appalachia, they kind of often were not full participants in wars that were going on. So you had a lot of people in this area who like tried to evade serving in the Civil War, for example. So I always think that's an interesting history. The last American hero speaks his piece. Look here, honey. I know the appetite of the spirit, the appetite of the body, but you have to tend the flesh the way Papa tended his liquor. Build next to a spring no water flows into except what hemlocks give. Distill rain and laurel shade, the last lap of the last mountain lion before she slipped into oblivion. I don't believe in restrictor plates, but restrict yourself. Build a better engine every day. Don't take to holding your liquor. We each of us have a burden caused by thirst. Keep a pot of beans on the stove. Eat cornbread and buttermilk. Leave that store-bought bread alone. Get seed corn saved in some Civil War deserter's attic. I'll tell you a secret if you'll listen. I was quiet not because I was tough, though I was tough. I was quiet because prison turned me silent. I was alone, and so are you, but not as bad. Improvise if you have to. We love our machines because they make us believe we can be free. So I haven't really been keeping up with time too much, but I think that's close to 15 minutes. I'm not sure. I can
No,
read.
that is
Yeah,
perfect.
okay,
Yes.
yeah.
Wow. And what a way to end it too.
Well, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate
Yes.
everybody showing up.
Thank you for lending your voice. We are now going to enter the Q&A portion. If you have a question, please throw it in the chat, or you can join. You can join with video too, if you would like to ask yourself. For those in the Facebook, I've already thrown some instructions in there. If y'all would like to add questions, I can import them over here, but I would love to kickstart a question if I could start. You singing Dig a Hole in the Meadow just blasted me back to eating derby pie at a bluegrass pickin' where my father played upright bass. And I listened to, I mean, I know that song through Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs' version.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
think that's the version where I learned it. Yeah.
I mean, your work has so much to do with place. It seeps through the Appalachian influence, and the narrative that you can find in place. And you sing in your work, which somebody noted, and I loved that, actually singing through the work. And I wondered, with those songs, which places do you find are like arising up in your work? Like when you write, or when you're feeling creative, you're listening to music, what certain places evoke strong memories, or have stories that you specifically carry with those songs, and vice versa?
Yeah. So I guess the ultimate place of memory would be where I grew up in Virginia, which is actually in the Piedmont of Virginia. But we're kind of in Henry County, Virginia. It's like we're kind of like in this like border zone between the more mountainous areas in Patrick County and Franklin County, and then the more Piedmont area in Henry County, and I guess like Rockingham County in North Carolina. We're almost in North Carolina. And like, I guess a couple of our stories are the stories of my childhood, and what, my mother and always kind of told me, which is, her father and her mother grew up in Floyd, Virginia, which is in the mountains. Like, her family's from Patrick County and Floyd, and a lot of them moved down to work in the furniture factories and in the textile mills. And so that kind of like sense of connection to a place that was sort of lost, I feel like, is a huge part of my work. But Henry County, Pennsylvania County, I would say and I guess my dad's family is from Bedford County, which is a very different, like my mom was always like, those people are different, they're like Shenandoah or something. But I guess those are the really deeply rooted places for me. And then I spent, always loved Roanoke, Virginia. And when I went there to go to college, I stayed until I had to leave to get a job in another place. So Roanoke and the surrounding area there is really really, I think, just one of those places that I love deeply. And this place where I live now it's like I'm always like, this is not my place. Like, these are not my mountains, but they are a place that I'm getting deeply intertwined with. So like Junior Johnson's from Rhonda, which I just love. I think that's the coolest place name. So I'm fascinated by place names where I am now. There's Rhonda and Harmony and Boomer and New Hope, all kinds of great place names up here. But does that kind of answer the question?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then to piggyback right off of that, from Laura Donnelly,
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could talk a bit about the relationship between place and voice and music in your work.
Yeah, well, I feel like I probably started, once I started understanding that like there was music and lyricism and poetry and the way people talk at the convenience store in Collinsville, Henry County, like when I started realizing that like the way that people in my family talk and the fact that they always like tell stories and that kind of thing, like when I started appreciating that as a writer is when I really started wanting to somehow channel that energy in my music, in my poetry, and to see the link between like poetry and music. So I feel like it's it's a huge part of where my voice comes from. And I guess for a long time, I just felt shame about sounding like I was from Henry County. And then at some point, I think because I started going to the Appalachian Writers Workshop and reading writers like Lee Smith and I don't know, Morris Manning, that's made me start to realize that it's actually like my access to something special. Like it's my access to my music, and that's all I have. So I have tried to cultivate that, but it took me a really long time. I was probably in my 30s before I really started to embrace it. Yeah. Oh yeah. I love when I heard Ellen Bryant. Well, so when I graduated, I feel like from high school or college, my aunt who lives in Chatham gave me a book by Ellen Bryant Voigt that I just kind of two trees, and I didn't really connect with it. I didn't really, read it that closely. And then I went to Bread Loaf and I heard Ellen Bryant Voigt read, and she was a piano player. She's a trained musician, and she sounds like she's from Chatham, Virginia. And it was just incredible. And then I read her book, Headwaters, which I don't know if you guys have read that, but that book is just, it's so good. And it's the musical chunks, it's the musical quality to that writing that's just incredible. And I probably have been influenced by her work to a fault, but I can't do what she does. But it's that combination of that formality, her ability to use her like craft, and then channel that unique voice. It's really, really beautiful. Yeah. Thank you, Laura.
And I think we have time for one more question if someone wants to throw one out. I would say what you just have been talking about there with finding your voice and at one point maybe not valuing so much the way that you speak and the place that is evocative of that sound. It's also like such a sense of pride. Mm-hmm. And I think that I love, seeing Southern and Appalachian poets and authors really taking a hold of that pride, mm-hmm. and not only the vernacular and the syntax that comes with it, mm-hmm. but also the story that it tells, how you can hear someone's voice and kind of be like, oh, I've heard that before. I don't know where I've heard that, but we have one from Linda Neal. I had a chance to work with Ellen at Rope Walk in Harmony, Indiana. I told her I could listen to her talk all day, and I feel the same about you.
Yeah. Yes. I know there's some recordings of her reading online that are really wonderful. The way she reads this, she has this poem called Mother, I think. I think that's from Headwaters, and there's a recording of her reading. It's just so wonderful. And I met Linda at the Appalachian Writers Workshop, which I feel like I was there. You were there that year that Barbara Kingsolver talked, and she talked about how if you let someone make you feel ashamed of your accent and you're a writer, then you're getting rid of your voice, and that's all you have. And that really, really kind of lit me up.
All right. Well, I think that might be all, unless someone wants to throw one in at the last second. But Annie Woodford, thank you so much for your wonderful reading. Where can folks find you?
Oh, okay. Well, I think my website was shared in the chat, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. My website was shared. Yeah.
Sorry, did it double up there for a second? I don't know what.
Yeah, but it's not doing it now. Is that the answer you were looking for there? Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for hosting this, and to Sundress for doing this, and all the just love that goes into making these things happen.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, participants and watchers of Facebook Live. Thank you all so much for lending your time and attention. We will have a couple weeks break for our reading period that we're doing. Then we'll kick back up with the last poets of the year in February. I think February 5th will be the next reading date, but you can find all of that on our Facebook. And I believe that is all. And I have, yes, the link to your website in the chat. If you would like to rewatch this recording again or share it around, we will also have that uploaded onto Facebook to share until the end of time.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And thank you. Thank you. I see sweet names on here, so I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Bye, Shillian. Bye, Laura. Thank you. Bye, Linda. Bye, Darlene.
Have a wonderful night, everybody.
Bye.